Hey everyone, welcome back to New JANG City, where I think it's only appropriate to speak a little bit more softly than usual because it's nighttime here, and hey, some of the citizens may be sleeping. Gotta respect the populace, right? The topic of today is tonight, lighting, and as you can probably see already, I've added a lot more lighting. A heck of a lot more bulbs. I haven't counted them, but I'm assuming it's in the range of hundreds of them, completely lining the underside of my entire elevated rail loop. You can see a handful of them back there in the background. And I went with a cooler color, especially compared to the mall, which is actually a much warmer color than I thought, now that I can really see the contrast. Ideally, I'd like the mall to be a little bit cooler in color, a little bit more bluish, just a little bit. And I'd like for this new lighting string to be just a little bit warmer. So something more like 5500 Kelvin in color temperature would be more ideal here. But this is not bad. The reason that I went for a very cool temperature, a very bluish temperature, is that I wanted it to look more like a typical modern municipal installation of LED lights. It's very common for LEDs to be rolled out these days with relatively bluish colors, sometimes even a little bit too much so, like when entire communities convert from traditional light to LEDs. Oftentimes it ends up looking incredibly blue. Nowadays lights come in many different colors, and just regular white lights come in many, so-called white lights come in many different colors. So it only makes sense to me to have multiple colors of lighting used throughout this. Now, I've not fully hidden away the wires just yet, but I did spend some time trying to get them tucked in there, and I'll do a little bit more work later on. But this added a whole lot of light, the realistic level of lighting down in the layout itself for a very, very low price. This is just one of still a number of additional lighting systems and lighting setups and attempts that I will be continuing to work with. I got this off Amazon. This is a string of angel lights, they call them. They're typically used for craft work and decorations and things. It just comes on a single continuous string, and I got 20 meters of the stuff on a roll for $10. It's like 66 feet, something like that, for $10 US shipped for the whole thing. And it runs on 5 volts, which is the exact same power style, DC, 5 volts, that is used by the brick loot system that I used for my little elevated rail station as my first attempt, and all the brick stuff that I used for my apartment building and my mall. So ultimately, everything that I do is going to be able to be connected together, which is just the beauty of sticking to at least one power rating. There's a lot more stuff available in the 12 volt DC range with light strips and such, but I really like the idea of sticking with 5 volts for all of this stuff. Ultimately, I'll be able to have USB connections various places. I won't standardize on USB connections for everything, I'm pretty sure, but it'll be nice to be able to plug in USB where I want. It's interesting now to see this original brick loot setup. Their lights are actually a little bit greenish, so it's a slightly different color quality, and that just tells me that I should get more brick loot stuff as well in the future to continue with that variation. The more I look at it, the more I wish the brick stuff lights were just a little bit cooler in temperature. They are a little bit too close to something old-fashioned, which is what they need to have. Most people are lighting up modular buildings, which are set in the 20th century. Everything was most things were incandescent, in various warm temperatures of lighting styles. So it makes sense. They tried to pull it a little bit in the cool direction. I think they're running something in the range of 3,500 to 4,000 K, closer to 3,500. But Yeah, ideal for me for just a standard would probably be something closer to the 4000 to 4500 for a 21st century display. But I don't mind having a little bit more warmth. And like I said, I'll just continue to mix it up. But yeah, I think this worked out pretty well. I think that it was a good investment. It's so cheap. I didn't care so much about hiding wires and just how things would be run and connected together, which is why I went ahead and used one of my big reels here. Let me see if I can get my remote for the main upper lights. There we go. So now you can see how it looks just in the normal times. I've got another reel over here. I want to show you what this stuff actually looks like. So that's just it. It's the most simple of stuff. Oftentimes you'll see these with a little button style battery, and people will just stuff a bunch of them into like a mason jar and be done. And that's a decorative element. It's craft, it's art. Whatever floats your boat. It's just super common stuff as a result. And the ones that I got actually already have USB plugs. There's no circuitry involved. They have no resistors, no caps. It's just straight in, and you just have this reel of, ultimately it's 3 wires, but all the LEDs are run in series. So at the end you just have this little terminator where 2 of the 3 wires are connected to each other to complete the loop, and then the other one just sits free. The LEDs are actually available or set up where they can be run in parallel, but they didn't do it that way. I guess it's cheaper just to have the wire set up the way that they are. But the other reel that I got is in the warmer range, which is actually too warm. I think it's closer to candlelight. What I want to do with these to make this look a little bit better is, I don't care quite so much about this view here looking up from the lowest angle, but I do care a little bit more about just thinking of how I'll be filming the city from the outside. Mostly will be more at level and from above. I care a little bit more about how all this looks directly from the side, so like from right about here. So I'm going to experiment with some different things to try to cover up the individual bulbs or obscure them a bit. Probably what I want to do is just use some 1x2 and 1x1 transclear plates on either side to try to make them look a little bit more like they are units, panels, LED panels, rather than individual bulbs. Because like this, these are just a little bit round, which looks a little bit old school. Nowadays a lot more things have diffusion involved with them or have entire panels. But that's it for what I've done today. I'm just going to continue, like I said, to try more different things and find the most efficient and effective ways to use each system and to light up each thing that I'm doing. I'm only going to be putting lighting in right now in things that are complete, so custom builds that are done or nearly done. I'm not going to bother investing in not just the money, but especially the time of setting things up in my modular buildings, which are ultimately just going to be removed. And yeah, you see the vertical seams on my curtains over on the right, because those are panels that are actually not permanent. Those are sliding ones that have been just moved over there because part of it's open. When you look over here on the left and in the back, where I've just barely started to experiment with ways to reduce those seams, you can see it's already 80% better than just the default. So everything is a work in progress. Everything is a process, and I'm just slowly but continually working to make everything better over time. With every bit of work that I do, try to make things progress in a positive direction, and I'm happy with the progress as it's been going, and I really like going through the process of experimenting as well. There we go. That's what I was looking for. I kept pushing the button. Wanted you to see finally what it looks like with absolutely no lights in the place, no external lights. So that's just the absolute raw appearance of things as they are right now. I'm going to keep at it, and I'll keep you posted. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again as soon as I can.